anyone here watching is at Windsor, hit me up. Especially if you're
Yeah.
sexy. No, I'm just joking.
All right. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Dead Film Critics Society. As always, I'm here with Aiden, my beautiful co-host from GBD Reviews. Make sure to go check him out. That's on Instagram. I also have a channel, Reviewing. Make sure to go check that out. But let's get into trivia, as always. Aiden, my question for you is, how many Oscars did the Kill Bills, get nominated for?
Ooh, that's a tricky one, actually. I don't even know if they got nominated for any, actually. That's a good question. I'm gonna say, I don't think it was very many. I'm gonna say like two or three.
It was none, unfortunately.
Oh, my first guess was right. Fuck.
Yeah,
Oh,
you
I
were
thought because it
close,
was
yeah.
a Tarantino, he would at least get nominated for a couple, but no. All
No,
right.
Kill Bill was clearly not the Oscars thing whatsoever.
Yeah,
But
definitely. That
yeah,
would make sense. Still a very iconic film series, though. So,
for sure.
yeah,
It's technically
yeah,
only one film. I mean, it's definitely not a series, I'd say. It's at least,
yeah.
at the most, it's just like a movie and a sequel. It's like two
Mm-hmm.
movies. But,
Yeah.
anyways, Aiden, I believe you said you had some news that we want to go over.
Oh, we're not gonna do trivia? Oh
Oh,
wait, am I gonna do my
yours.
trivia question?
Yeah, of course. I always forget.
That's okay, sir. Don't worry about it. So I want to ask you. It's a pretty simple question. What is Quentin Tarantino's highest-grossing film?
Uh, I'm gonna assume it's one is later. I'm gonna assume it's not the Hateful Eight. I'm assuming it's
Mm-mm.
either Glorious Bastards, Django Unchained, or Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I'm gonna go ahead and say Django Unchained.
You would be correct there, sir.
Okay.
Good guess.
All
Nice
right.
job.
Cool.
That made $426 million at the box office. So
Pretty impressive.
that's pretty good
Yeah.
for an R-rated film at the time.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Mm.
I mean, at the time, makes it sound like it was so long ago, but
Well, I know, but even but
yeah,
back then in 2012, right, R-rated films weren't exactly the most bankable films, right?
for
So
sure.
not like they are
Yeah.
now. We're
Yeah.
seeing R-rated films get billions of dollars. So, anyways,
Yeah.
let's get on to some news. And I have
Yeah.
one big piece of news. You may have heard of this. Amazon bought Goldwyn
Yeah.
Mayer recently for about 3.5 billion or something like that. I
No,
don't
it's
know.
definitely more than
No,
that.
so it's 8.45, I
Yeah.
should say. My bad. My mistake. Yeah, I
Okay.
thought that was a little low, but I think that's. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that, man? Because apparently
Um.
there's a lot of potential for them to like reimagine a lot of their IPs. So
Yeah. I don't. What do they even have though? I know they have Bond, but I know
they have
Bond is
RoboCop,
also. They have
Rocky,
RoboCop. And
yeah,
Rocky.
Pink
Oh
Panther,
yeah, they have Creed.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Like I said, I don't care too much personally because first of all, they don't really have any IPs I care that much about.
yeah,
As I said, I've only seen one James Bond film, and
yeah,
I know that the way that James Bond works is that apparently the people who actually have the stake in it have the right, they have a contractual right to like make sure it doesn't go straight to Amazon Prime. If Amazon wanted to, they can force a theatrical exclusive window under the
yeah,
contract. And then I'm assuming they're still like, I don't know if this makes all the difference in the world. All I'm gonna know is that everything from MGM, I guess, is just gonna be on Prime at some point. But I'm
yeah,
assuming it'll mostly stay the same. I don't expect major differences. I don't expect a bunch of stuff to only go to Prime. Maybe
yeah.
a few things, like some small stuff that doesn't matter. But like
Mm-hmm.
for bigger films or Oscar films, I expect them to at least a limited theatrical run, and then be on
Yeah,
Prime, at the very least. So I
yeah,
don't think this is necessarily a bad thing overall. It's just, I mean, I don't know. It's like it's like for that big of a thing, it's almost like kind of small in my opinion. It's like
yeah.
I don't
No,
know
no,
how
I
much
understand.
actual change we're gonna see from it. Is what I'm kind of thinking.
Yeah,
Other than just seeing
no, that's fair.
MGM stuff go to Prime, which in theory could have just happened if they like bought the rights to stream them now. But now they just have the permanent rights because they own MGM. So it just
Yeah,
won't be as shakeable. It'll just be a steady thing.
no, fair enough. Yeah, I get you. All
Yeah.
right. Glad to hear your opinion on that. What news have you got for us today?
Um, I have some news. First of all, The Mitchells vs. the Machines passed Thunder Force for being the most popular Netflix release of 2021, which is good
Thank
because
goodness
I'm
for
pretty
that.
sure Mitchell's vs. the Machines is much better than Thunder
Thunder
Force.
Force is
Haven't seen
garbage,
Thunder
man.
Force, but
I have. I
you
did not want to
did.
talk about
You
it.
watched
Yeah, it's a
it.
bad movie.
Jeez. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know why. I
Um.
was curious, but I mean, it was not very good at
All
all.
right.
Ugh,
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah. There was this unfortunate story from Salma Hayek who said she lost two comedy roles because directors feared a Mexican lead would upset the studio. I'm not sure when this was or what films they are referring to exactly. Um, it's just I don't know. It's just an unfortunate thing. It's
That's
like
unfortunate. Yeah.
yeah, I don't
Should
know. It
be warm
feels
with
like
it
a little bit
sometimes.
of an like not unnecessary, but just doesn't feel like updated news. Just like something unfortunate happened in the past. I'm like, it's not like we can do much to amend that specifically. Of course, this is just
Well,
another
the only
example of
thing you can really do is just make sure it doesn't happen again.
yeah,
I mean, I think
exactly,
that's the
exactly.
important
Just
thing.
like pushing for more of these roles to happen instead of them being denied, right? Instead of
Yeah,
directors being in
exactly.
fear that they can't cast who they want because they might not be bankable enough, which most of the time is silly because there have been very few instances where having multiple minority leads has been the cause of a movie like not being bankable.
Yeah.
Especially like I can't see that being a thing, even though there is the idea that I know like studios use a lot of algorithms these days to try to determine if a film will make money. I don't know how those algorithms work. If they're like can be flawed to somehow prefer white people because or like larger names in theory, which
Racist
often
algorithm.
happens. Yeah, it
Interesting.
happens to be white people, but I don't know. I think obviously when some of the best decisions have gone against the algorithm. For example, Juice and the Black Messiah was a movie that most studios thought would never be a bankable film and ended up being one of the more successful Warner Brothers film, maybe the most successful Warner Brothers film of last year, getting nominated for Best Picture and still making a good amount of money, making a good impact on HBO Max. So it's like I don't know if those algorithms really know what they're talking about a lot of the time, right?
Yeah.
There's only so much trust you can put in computers.
Yeah, of course.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah. Do you have any more news before?
Well, I mean, I have one more piece of news. It's not something super crazy, but I mean, like, the day we're filming this, I mean, like, yesterday, was the, 40th, not 40th, sorry, it must have been, yeah, no, 44 years since the original Star Wars was released in theaters. So,
Hmm.
I want to ask you, like, what exactly does, like, what does Star Wars mean to you? Because as you know, I'm a huge Star Wars fan, so, I mean, like, I want to hear your perspective, man. Like, what
Yeah, I
exactly
mean, I
do you
like
like?
Star Wars.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know
that's
what
all you got to
else.
say?
That's pretty much
I
all
mean,
I want to
like,
say. I like Star Wars. I was a very much a massive fan growing up. I'm maybe
yeah.
less than when there was when I was a kid, especially with all the lightsabers I played with. But right now, I still really like Star Wars. I'll be seeing any new Star Wars movies, especially if they're directed by Taika Waititi. I'll definitely
Mm,
be seeing those, probably
yeah,
multiple times if I really like them, which is likely.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
like, I
that's
don't
all I
know. I
wanted to
feel like
say.
I've gotten like I've become like a bigger Star Wars fan over the years. Kind of the opposite too, I guess. I mean, like, I don't know, because I just started reading up on all the lore. I even bought a few comic books. I mean, like, that's not something I would
Eh,
normally do, but I mean,
yeah,
Star Wars has always been a huge part of my life, and I mean, like, I don't know. I'm not gonna say it shaped me as a person because like it's just a movie, right? But it's just movie series, right? But I mean, it's definitely something that I can always look back on. I always have good moments of that. I remember when I was like 12, going to see like The Force Awakens in theaters with my family. That was really good. So
yeah,
those are
yeah,
moments I'll
for
never
sure.
forget.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Star Wars, I really enjoyed it, for sure.
yeah,
Really liked Force Awakens, the theater experience especially.
yeah.
Yeah. Last night Soho's trailer dropped. We did a reaction to that. That will
Yep.
be happening after we can finish this new segment.
Hmm.
But also Kate Hudson has been the newest addition to Knives Out 2.
Oh
I
my
don't know if you've seen
goodness,
this.
this cast is getting
Yeah, this
huge.
yeah this cast is really getting huge. She's most known for music. Not no, she's not. Well, she's somewhat. I mean, it's one of
Well,
her
recently
bigger
she's known for
films of
that.
recent times, unfortunately. Uh,
Yeah.
but her other big movie, Almost Famous, which is probably easily her best movie, or probably should be her most well known, if not it is getting a 4K release. It's also getting it's a limited release, 4K Ultra HD, and also is getting a massive soundtrack box set release. So I don't know. I might be looking at potentially picking that up. Who knows? I don't know if they're also going to re-release a Blu-ray copy as well, because I don't have anything that can run 4K. But I really like that movie a good amount, and definitely want to rewatch it eventually, if not soon. Robert Pattinson has signed a first look deal with Warner Brothers. I don't know if you heard about this thing, which encompasses everything of with Warner Brothers, like New Line Cinema, their television, and HBO Max. Which I think this basically means is that most big actors have their own like sort of production companies. So he's technically looking at them like from a production standpoint. So his company might be able to like look at certain projects and see if they want to help produce them. And then of course Robert might want to help be in the project or do something in the project, whether that being starring or producing. Which is interesting. See what other things that Robert might do himself or what his production company might do, because obviously I don't think his production companies actually produce anything. I think it's currently just existed for like tax purposes. I think that's what a lot of big actors do. But it's interesting to see what will happen with that. Timothy Chalamet has been, I think we talked about this earlier. We talked about the Willy Wonka prequel, that the origin tale that's happening.
Yes, I know he's going to star in that.
And Timothy Chalamet is going to be starring in it.
I mean, he'll definitely look the part.
Yeah. Being directed by Paul King from Paddington and Paddington 2.
Okay, now I'm less worried, honestly. I mean, Paddington, those movies are actually, like, incredibly good. Like, I think it's crazy to think about how, like, the second one has a higher score, like, on critical websites than fucking Citizen Kane. Like, I just think that's crazy, to be honest.
For a moment there, I thought you were talking about Charlie and Chocolate Factory, but then I realized you're talking
about...
No, it's Paddington. No, so the director's good, the lead's good. So this is probably, I mean, you could say the same for the reboot of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory with Johnny Depp, who's a good actor, and then Tim Burton, who's a good
that one was
director.
Okay. It wasn't... I just thought it was
strange. Yeah, and I think this film... Yeah, I think Paul King's definitely a less weird director. He knows how to clearly make a really good kids film. Timothy Chalamet, I don't know how kid-oriented this film is. I'm pretty sure it will be to a certain extent, but I can't imagine it'll be as weird as Tim Burton's or even the first one.
I mean... Yeah, I mean, like, you can't get away with the Deep Roy clones, honestly.
And I don't think Paul King's going to do that. I'm quite excited for this. I think this could.
Are we going to see how he
nice.
Finds
something
the Oompa
special
Loompas?
Potentially, huh?
Yeah, are we going to see the origin of how he finds the Oompa Loompas? Because that would be interesting to see.
Maybe that will be part of it. Who knows?
Because I
guess this is. I feel like getting the similar response to Cruella, because people thought, oh, why do we need an origin story to Cruella?
I mean, I heard Cruella's getting decent reviews.
Yeah, it's getting good reviews, but I think that's one of the biggest complaints still. That's still in like the Rotten Tomatoes summary from whatever amount of reviews they had, is that it doesn't really find a specific reason to exist, right?
Yeah.
And I guess that's kind of... I feel like that's a bigger automatic thing with Disney, though, at this point. Yeah. Especially with their... anything.
They are just scraping the bottom of that barrel.
They are in some ways, but I don't think Cruella personally is. Like, obviously,
I mean, if it's good,
remake
then, more power to them, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, I think there's a certain, like, I think it's fine if they use, like, their IPs to a certain extent as long as it's good. So I don't think the fact that it doesn't have to exist should be, like, a knock against the film. Again, I'm obviously not going to assume that it's only getting, like, a 77 or whatever on Rotten because, that's the only reason people don't like it, and that it's like a perfect movie or whatever. Because obviously, first of all, like, while it has a much better director and cast and crew than like The Lion King. Well, I mean, in theory, The Lion King had a decent crew in theory, but obviously it didn't go over.
It was a rehash of the first film that somehow was longer, but also cut out a lot of the best moments.
Yeah. And
I don't understand how that's possible, man.
Yeah, so like I'm saying that these films can be good, and I don't think they're bad necessarily. I do think there's more exciting things directors like Greg Giuseppe and I'm probably saying his name wrong, and Paul King could do, but I think they could do some interesting things with these franchises. It's like, if we're gonna get these franchise films anyways, we might as well have a couple of interesting directors doing them. Which, more than Jon Favreau, I think. You should stick to the Mandalorian. Mark Ruffalo has been cast in Poor Things, which is Yorgos Lanthimos' next film. I'm very excited for this. Should be in 2022. He joins Emma Stone, Willem Dafoe, and Rami Youssef in the cast, so that's looking like a very good cast.
Good cast.
Apparently the book is very much loved, and of course Yorgos is, very interesting director. I personally really like him as a director.
That's definitely an understatement.
Yeah, I promise you, his other movies, you'll probably like them at least a little bit more. The Killing of Sacred Deer is weirdest.
I trust your judgment for the most part, so I will believe you there. All right, that's why I want to see The Lobster and The Favorite. Yeah, which you won't shut up about, by the way.
The Favorite's amazing. It's great. They're great films.
No worries.
He makes great
films,
and I'm very excited for his next one. Alex Garland, director of Ex Machina and Annihilation, has finished an A24 project. It's going to be a film called Men. It stars Jessie Buckley and Rory Keener. It follows a young woman who goes on a solo vacation to the English countryside after the death of her ex-husband. So it sounds like an interesting film. It's supposed to be like a horror. I think it's going to be closer to Annihilation, and that's sort of a horror science fiction movie. Which I'm very excited for. I liked Annihilation a good amount. I think it's a very interesting movie, and who knows, maybe this one could be better. I really like Jessie Buckley. She did a great job, and I'm thinking of ending things. She's a couple other projects I haven't checked out from her, but I've heard she's great in. So I'm looking forward to it.
That movie is a misleading title though, because there is a woman in the cast. I just want to make that clear.
True. Yeah.
Sorry, to make that
joke. Men starring Jessie Buckley.
Yes. I was like, what?
Emily Blunt said that it's going to be a trilogy.
Quiet Place 3.
There will be a Quiet Place 3, especially with all the success Part 2 is already getting. It's been critically acclaimed. It looks to do pretty well at the box office. Apparently, it's like the first film, but it's like cranking some of its elements more. It's like more whatever you got out of A Quiet Place, the first one, you'll get more of in the second film, even if it's maybe a bit more flawed. Though I mean, I don't love the first one personally. I checked it out somewhat recently. I think it was okay. I do think the characters are a little bit stupid. I don't think there's anything superb about the filmmaker. And while the concept's interesting, again, I don't think John Krasinski and the crew were the perfect people to tackle that, but they did a pretty good job. But I think it definitely could have been elevated to a higher ceiling. And I'm interested to see how much this film will try to. I'm assuming it's going more for that, so I'm a little worried I might like it less based on that, but I'm still definitely gonna check it out eventually. I'm not opposed to a third one. I think they're entertaining enough, at least. Last piece of news that's kind of interesting is that Zack Snyder said that he pitched Amy Adams, a female version of The Wrestler, by Darren Aronofsky, which is an interesting idea. That I'm assuming, I don't know, Zack Snyder I feel like is just trolling everybody in these interviews by just mentioning random shit that he says he would do.
I know.
Or pitched randomly. I guess but I think there's a reason. I think a lot of filmmakers do this stuff. They pitch a lot of different ideas. A lot of them get denied. But Zack Snyder seemed like the only guy. Oh, bless you. Zack Snyder seems like the only guy who just goes out and just hello, he just talks about all of them and gets people kind of hyped up for something that will never happen. And I think, there's a reason other filmmakers don't do that, because then they would hype people up potentially for something that won't happen.
I mean, that actually brings me to a similar point actually, because what's it called? He recently said in an interview that he actually pitched connecting the Nolan verse to the DCEU. With Joseph Gordon-Levitt as Batman, along with Henry Cavill's Superman.
Yeah, it's just stuff like that. It's just a little unnecessary. Obviously, I'm assuming he just sounds like a little bit more of a fanboy who was just been writing in his notebook of random movie ideas he'd wanted to do, and he just thought to himself, okay, what if I connected the DCU films I've made with the Nolan verse? So it'd be so cool, Joseph Gordon-Levitt is.
It would have been cool,
epic.
But I mean, I don't know if it really would have worked the best, because the fucking Nolan verse, it's a very realistic take on the Batman. Obviously with right, but for the most part, it feels pretty grounded.
I think Warner Brothers, in certain, obviously studio execs sometimes, as I was saying before, rely on algorithms or even themselves make stupid decisions. But I think there's also a limit. You can't let. I think you need to limit Zack Snyder. You need to control him a little bit, Because first of
Yeah.
all, he's not that great a director that I trust him to do everything by him. Well, obviously, he's not doing everything by himself. I'm underestimating a little bit how much film is a collaborative enterprise. But obviously, he's kind of the visionary for most of his films. But obviously, yeah, some more studios might be helpful. But I don't know. I think Netflix is very happy with the situation they have with him, and Zack Snyder's happy with the situation he has with Netflix. And apparently, there's a potential like prequel and sequel to Army of the Dead. Apparently, one of them might be animated. All that sounds interesting, but I'm
cool.
not too excited for it since I don't really love Army of the Dead. But still an interesting idea. But anyways, we're gonna head into our trailer reaction now. Let's bring that up. Watch this thing.
When you're alone and life is making you lonely, you can always go downtown. When you've got troubles, all the noise and the hurry seems to help. I know downtown. Just listen to the music of the traffic in the city. Linger on the sidewalks where the neon signs are pretty. How can you lose?
Oh.
The lights are much brighter there. You can forget all your troubles, forget all your cares. So go downtown. Things will be great when you're downtown. No finer place for sure. Downtown. Everyone's waiting for you. Everyone's waiting for you. Do you believe in ghosts?
Okay, I was just gonna say that that's probably one of the better movie trailers I've seen in a while. It was really good. That makes me a lot more excited for the film. I mean, like you were talking to me a little bit about it. I wasn't entirely sure, right? I do like Edgar Wright, but I mean, I always wait until there's like a like a teaser trailer or something like that to really make my it's like anticipation for the movie known. But that really makes me excited for it.
Yeah,
I am confused though, because like. I don't know. It's got last night in Soho, but isn't Soho a neighborhood in New York City? I didn't realize.
I'm pretty sure it's also a neighborhood in London. It might have been a neighborhood in London first.
That's probably it. Yeah. That's kind of cool. Awesome. I mean, like, no, I'm excited for that movie. It looks really great, really thrilling. Like, I don't know how scary it's going to be, but at least it'll be an interesting film. So
yeah, it looks really interesting to me.
Yeah.
It's kind of I'm thinking is going to be tapping into that idea of like, It sort of has those Midnight in Paris vibes a little bit because like that's the movie where Owen Wilson goes back in time and learns about from the people who are the greatest at what he does, which is writing. And this time it's going to be Thomasin McKenzie's playing a girl who's going to go back in time to encounter the 50s, I guess, and just the best fashion of that era.
I don't know if that was the 50s because Thunderball came out in the late 70s, I believe. Not late 70s, early 70s. So, yeah.
I'll have to double check which year it was, but no, it just looks quite interesting. It's kind of clashing that modern idea because it reminds me a little bit of some stills I've seen of Suspiria, which is a very colorful horror movie from Dario Argento, which got a remake from Luca Guadagnino. All right.
We've somehow changed back into our other clothes.
Yeah, that was
Isn't that crazy, guys?
Yeah.
Oh my.
Now we're gonna do our tier list. I made this is another custom tier list I've made. So there's a studio I particularly am quite in love with. It's called Plan B. Brad Pitt's a big part of it. Dee Dee Gardner's the president of it. They've made a couple of Best Picture winners, but they've also made a lot of other good films. One that I actually left off of this tier list because I'm pretty sure you might not have heard of it, but it's a film I'll need to tell you about. But let's focus on the films that I did put on the tier list, so let's bring that up.
All right.
Here it is. This is obviously isn't all their films, but these are some of their biggest, most popular ones that I know I've seen the majority of them, if not all of them. Yeah. Not too many, but I think I left Vice off. I don't know. I feel like this is a little incomplete.
Yeah, I don't blame you for leaving Vice off. Otherwise,
I mean, it's okay. Like Vice, you gotta balance the good with the bad, So I maybe should have included Vice, but
it's okay.
Just know Vice would probably be around here.
Yeah.
But let's move on to the better stuff. Okja. So this is a film that we kind of originally planned to be our first potential podcast movie. But we both had trouble trying to get off the ground.
I think it's kind of fair to say that was my fault, sir. That was not your fault. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, it's fine. We don't need.
We did like this movie though.
This was a good movie. We did talk about this a little bit separately, from obviously any form of podcast. But yeah, this was a good movie. I really like it. I think Bong Joon-ho. This is a very interesting movie, for him to make. He always makes interesting movies, I think. For sure. Yeah. And then obviously some of them don't always hit perfectly. Some of them are Parasite, or at least one of them is. But obviously a lot of his other films still have really good qualities that you can see through, and Parasite feels like the accumulation of all that. And I think Okja executes a lot of good stuff.
Definitely.
With his message, it's somewhat manipulative, I think. But I think a good amount of the effort that went into this film earns that. So, I don't know. I'm thinking like A or B.
I'm fine with A or B.
Yeah, I think this would be like lower end of A, personally.
Yeah.
So we can put it there.
Fine with me.
Minari. You still haven't seen this.
No, I have not seen Minari yet, but I will let you. So I'll let you have veto.
Because I really love it. I hope you love it close to, or just as much, or even more than me.
All right. Yeah.
Moonlight.
This was a good one.
This is a pretty great movie. I still need to rewatch it. It's been a while. I think it's been about a year. Which it can be seen as not too long, but it's been about a year since I've seen this. And I know it didn't hit me completely the first time. I'll be honest, but it's definitely a film that stuck with me. I still remember a lot about that, and obviously everything else Barry Jenkins has done, I love. The Underground Railroad. I finished that. Great series. Very impactful, very well done. Like, his technical craft and crew, he knows exactly what he's doing, and he's working with lots of talented people. And he will continue to do so. So he's definitely one of the more exciting filmmakers. Like, I think he is a man who's definitely not straight away from quality filmmaking, even if I do think his material varies a little bit. But as far as this movie, I think it's pretty great. Personally, for me, I don't think I could put it at an S. I don't know if you would be there. I don't know.
I mean, I'd probably put it at like lower end of S or high A. So I'd be fine with either.
Yeah, I think high A is good enough.
Okay.
I'll put it right there. 12 Years a Slave.
That's a great film.
It's a very good film. Very tough film to watch. Obviously, great performances.
Especially from Lupita Nyong'o.
Yeah, she's pretty great. I think Chiwetel Ejiofor and Michael Fassbender and the rest of the cast are also pretty good. Especially, I think Chiwetel Ejiofor's performance is maybe a little underrated. I think this is easily, I don't know about easily, but definitely his best performance. And honestly, maybe should have been more in talks to win. It did win the BAFTA. He did win the BAFTA, but obviously it was kind of overshadowed by two other white guys. And Leo obviously wasn't getting as much awards attention. But people do think that's maybe a performance he should have won for. And then obviously Matthew McConaughey swept pretty much everywhere but the BAFTA, which Chiwetel took. So I think his performance is maybe a little underrated. And obviously Steve McQueen's work with Sean Bobbitt and just his direction overall is quite impeccable. I think...
That's fine. I'm good there.
A. You can just put it there. Yeah. Like... I think, well, obviously, a film doesn't need to be, like, happy to be, like, you know, a really good film. I do think how brutal it is kind of maybe holds it back from being, like, an all-time favorite for me. And I think it does for most people, even though I think a lot of people know this is a very, very well-made film. Don't mistake that. The Big Short. Now, again...
I was actually... Let me tell you a story, right? Basically, I loved this movie the first time I saw it, but I gotta tell you, man, over time, like, my opinion of it is really just, like, faltered. Like, I realized it's just... They just use a ton of overly complex fucking statistics and explanations and disguise it all up to make it seem like it's satire, and it's just... I don't know, man. It really doesn't do it for me anymore. Like, I would even go as far to put it at, like, low C or high D, to be honest. I'm really not that high on it.
Yeah, I think this is, like, an okay film. It's like a 5 out of 10, I think, when thinking about it. It's better than Vice, that's for sure.
Yeah,
Best
that's for
adapted
sure.
screenplay, like, it definitely did not, like, you know, obviously there's the idea of, like, Oscars so white a lot of the time, but this is where I really take issue with it, when, like, a white filmmaker just makes such a mediocre film, but somehow it's seen as, like, great. And I very much disagree with that, and it's, like, but then also people, and then it's, like, conflicting that with then, you know, people who I think genuinely deserve it is tough, right? Because I think there are definitely... Adam McKay is a filmmaker who's gone into Best Picture a lot recently, who I definitely think shouldn't be nearly as famous as he is. Has gotten much as claim as he has, frankly, but... yeah, I don't know, it just is. It's not like I can do anything about it, but I can just not like his films that much, even though I do hope he improves. But based on what I've heard about his newest film that's coming out this year, Don't Look Up, doesn't sound like he's going to move away from his formula or try anything that much new, and might... I don't know, his trajectory is definitely going down, I think, and Vice, and his new film might be worse than Vice, potentially, which is...
what is his new film again?
Don't Look Up, which is coming to Netflix sometime this year.
What even is that supposed to be about? Do we know?
It's supposed to be sort of a climate change satire. It's like two journalists are trying to warn the entire world that like a meteor's coming.
Jesus.
Yeah, it sounds like it won't be very
I'm
good.
about to shoot myself in the head if I watch that film.
Leonardo DiCaprio supposed to have done rewrites to a script that apparently was very not good. And he's also working with Barry Jenkins, oddly enough. So I guess he's, like, which is interesting, because I think it's interesting because Barry Jenkins and Adam McKay, obviously, so we're talking about Plan B right now, are both very heavily involved with Plan B, but they're such different filmmakers, and also one is vastly superior to the other, so it's crazy that they work with the same company. It's insane to me to think that it's a thing, really, but, yeah, it's just, I don't know, and I'm assuming that's how Leo ended up getting connected to both, like, the McKay project, and how he's kind of works with Plan B to start becoming more of a screenwriter, because he's apparently done rewrites on Don't Look Up, and he's apparently working with Barry Jenkins on a couple of other scripts, which is interesting, because I know Barry definitely, you know, he has a standard of quality I don't think will drop from now on, or at least it'll be a while, because he's very talented, and he's got a lot of talented people working with him. But it's kind of crazy to see Adam McKay work with the same studio. As far as this, I don't know, high D
or D.
Let's just put high D, because especially compared to these other films, it's not close. All right,
let's see if we can try to move it along here. I think we got
for sure.
Rabbit hole that is Adam McKay. So I mean, yeah. Oh no.
Yeah. All right.
It's Mama Ang.
Yeah. Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
D.
D. Automatic.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm really not the biggest fan of it.
I mean, I'm fine with it. I don't think it's bad, really. I enjoyed it as a kid, and that's probably the last time I've seen it, to be fair.
I mean, I saw it as a kid, and then I saw it with, like, you know, the more grown-up, like, vision, I guess. I mean, obviously I'm not saying I'm a man yet, right? But I feel like I don't like it as much now. I mean, I saw it, like, a year ago, and I didn't like it very much at all.
All right.
So,
well, I'm fine with that. Beautiful Boy. Have you seen this?
I have not seen this one. I've heard it's very good, though.
I don't think it's very good. I will say it's good.
Well, I mean, like, I should also mention that my friends who told me that are in love with Chalamet, so maybe that is...
Yeah, that was probably a big I don't know if they should be in love with Chalamet in this film, though. It's purposely, you're not really supposed to... You're supposed to sympathize with him a little bit, but you're also not supposed to look up to him, especially in this film. Because he's playing a kid who gets addicted to, like, meth and other very dangerous drugs. And then, of course, Steve Carell's playing a dad who's trying to, like, you know, sort of save him. But it's really just a kind of a depressing look at addiction and how, you know, it's a very tough fight for the person fighting against it, but then also the people around them can't really help them that much.
Yeah.
Which, you know, makes it a very kind of depressing film. It's a very interesting soundtrack. Apparently it very much shifts in tone. I think Timothy's pretty good in it. People say he was snubbed for an Oscar nomination. I could probably think of people who deserved it more than him, but I wouldn't have been opposed to it if it happened. Overall, high C. High C is kind of where I'm thinking. It's still solid though. It's good. I could see it. I really don't feel the urge to ever watch it again, or not for a long time at least. The Tree of Life. Have you seen this?
Nope.
Okay.
I heard it was pretty weird.
It's pretty good. I like Terrence Malick a lot. It is a very unconventional story structure, but it's very well shot. Emmanuel Lubezki worked on this. He's known for like Gravity, Birdman, The Revenant. He does an amazing job here with Terrence Malick. The performances are fun. I don't know about fun, but they're good. It's a very philosophical film, one that will keep you thinking. And I think just something it's more of an experience than like a story. And I think it's something worth experiencing, though, for sure.
Okay. It's good to know.
The Last Black Man in San Francisco. Again, I kind of want to put this in S. I don't know if it's really maybe objectively better than these other films, but I really love this film. I really like the look of it, especially. One of the best looking movies I've ever seen. Definitely rivals the work Barry Jenkins has been putting in, because I think both of them are making some of the most beautiful films or just media that I've seen maybe ever. They're both very good. I love their styles, but especially I love what Joe Talbot and his cinematographer did here. Very well done. Very good story. Very much a love story for like a hometown for San Francisco. Great performances, especially Jonathan Majors really puts it in the third act especially. And
all right.
Yeah, good film. Really good film that I really love that everyone should see. Selma.
I love Selma, honestly. It's one of my favorite films. I think it's great. To be honest.
I think it's good for sure. I do think
I would say low B though, to be honest. I know it's not like the best one.
I was like
not low B, I meant low A. Why did I say low B?
I was gonna say like I think this is kind of a B movie. It's like a high B movie for me, because it didn't really have the impact I think it should have for a movie of this kind of structure, and I don't know what's happening with my Photoshop. Okay, there we go. I do think Ava DuVernay has definitely done better, but I think David Oyelowo did very good in this. Probably easily should have been nominated. They really
I don't understand why
they screwed up that lineup. It should have been him, Jake Gyllenhaal, Ralph Fiennes, Michael Keaton, and then either Eddie Redmayne or Benedict Cumberbatch, for sure. But instead they threw in like Steve Carell, and who else did they throw in? I don't even remember. See, like I can easily remember the other people who should have been in. I don't remember the people who should have been not.
Yeah, there you go.
And it's a great ensemble. A lot of up and coming African American actors are in this movie. They obviously don't get too much to do, but good casting for sure. Ava DuVernay helped a lot of great actors find better roles, like Lakeith Stanfield and Tessa Thompson are both in this film. They get pretty small roles, but they do good in it. I think this is high B. I think are you okay with that? Because I think Ava, like I think her, like especially When They See Us, is definitely better than Selma.
Fine.
And that's I think 13th as well. Oof. Yep. So this is our Plan B tier list. Obviously, it doesn't have everything, but Vice would probably be an E, I think you could say. I also wanted to mention the other film that I think I should have put in, Kajillionaire. I've seen it. I love it a lot. It should have been. I would have put it in A. I think it's a great film. It's a little bit of a weirder film, but I think it's one if that if it connects to you, you'll really love it, like I did,
All right.
and it has done with
Sweet.
some other people. So yeah, and I think
All right.
I think it's okay that we went a little long because I don't have a ton to say about it, but I do have some things to say about it. Cause, like,
Yeah, no, me too. Obviously, I don't got
it's
shit
like
to say,
it's
but-
for one, it's like I couldn't really think of anything that people haven't said before or things that like,
Yeah.
are really truly deep about this film. There's definitely a lot of
Yeah, no.
interesting things about this film.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah, it's Kill Bill.
Solid films. Yeah, man, Kill Bill, iconic stuff right there. I
Yeah.
mean, just I think especially Beatrix Kiddo, she's obviously my favorite character. I think Uma Thurman does a great job in this movie. You
Yeah,
know,
I think
she's
she does. Yeah, pretty good.
presented as quite the
Yeah.
badass. I have to
Mhm,
say.
for sure.
You know, I mean, yeah, I mean, like, and it came at a good time. I mean, like, 'cause I think for a while there, there wasn't a ton of really like strong female leads like these types of films, and it's nice to see, we got one like kind of not really that early, right? Because it was only like
Yeah.
2002, 2003, right? But it was still a great role nonetheless. I think she's.
Yeah, I'm glad that
Yeah.
Tarantino was like gonna actually do a little like give. Obviously, he did Jackie Brown, so it wasn't the first time he
Yeah.
had put a woman at the lead of.
Yeah, but he clearly doesn't have a problem with it, which is
Yeah,
good.
which
you
is
know?
good, and he probably should
Yeah.
do that again. Maybe for his
Yeah.
last, who knows? Apparently, his next film is supposed to be his last. But
Yeah, I
anyways,
heard about that. He's only gonna make
yeah.
11. So yeah.
Yeah, as far as this film among his like other ones is, I don't know, what do you think of it like compared to his other ones real quick?
Compared to the other ones, I mean, like I've said in the past, like it's like my favorite Tarantino film is gotta be either Inglourious Basterds or Django Unchained. It's between those two for me. Pulp Fiction is also up there, but I think by far and away between those two ones. Like I think those are the best. I think those are like his most like well-made ones, and they have like I think the best performances, especially like Christoph Waltz.
Yeah,
Inglourious
I could
Basterds.
say on a performance side, I think that honestly, I think Kill Bill from a technical standpoint might be some of his best, maybe his best film.
Okay, yeah, from a technical
I think
standpoint,
so.
I do hear you there. Yeah, like the
for sure,
fucking
I think
the
this might be-
cinematography, especially.
Yeah.
I love that scene when they're in the club and then it just changes to black and white because actually, you know why they had to do that though, right?
Yeah, I know, because they were about to get NC-17, so they had to. black
Yeah,
and
I
white
think that's
for
such a creative way
second.
to skirt around that. It was great, honestly. I think it made the scene look even
Yeah,
better.
it was definitely a better
So-
option. I don't love that. I wish, obviously it's not their fault. Like, obviously Tarantino would have wanted it just to be as they shot it. But obviously the MPAA had to be a little. Well, I mean, they have to have standards, of course, to a certain extent. But also, it's like, I would have rather just seen it as it plainly was. But it was a good option rather than just cutting it, because it probably would have made the scene flow worse.
Yeah.
Just kept it in black and white. It was a better option. And obviously, this film having other segments in black and white helps make that not feel out of place.
Yeah, no, definitely.
For
yeah.
sure. And
I
yeah,
mean, I also
think,
love the what's it called? The action sequences in general. I think are all just done
they're all very well done.
from a choreographical standpoint, not just from the way it's shot, but no,
Yeah,
they're definitely done very well.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's some great stuntmen in this film.
Yeah, fun fact.
Yeah.
So, when I was quickly looking at which film, like if this had been nominated for Oscars, it did get nominated for some BAFTAs, including editing, Uma Thurman's lead performance, and visual effects, which I think are all. I think the editing, especially, is very well done.
No, I would have to agree with you there. Yeah.
Sally Menke, I don't know exactly how to say her name, did very good job. And honestly, Tarantino should probably be still working with her, considering, I don't know, I think the editing in these films is maybe like his earlier films are maybe more sharp and well done. Especially in this first one, I think the pacing is pretty great, perfect, if even. I think the second one, well, I think I might prefer it a little more, the second part, if you want to call it that. I think I like the second part better overall. Especially in the first part, it feels very simple. I think there's more depth that's put into the second part overall.
Yeah.
I think the characters are well
definitely agree
done.
with you there.
Yeah, because I think,
especially
especially for the first part, I think Lucy Liu is my favorite character.
I would have to
and
agree.
I don't know if that.
Well, aside
lasts
from
for the
Beatrix
whole
Kiddo,
movie.
like that's probably my favorite character.
Yeah,
but
I think
yeah.
Lucy Liu's character, Ren. I think she might be my favorite. Potentially, I obviously Uma Thurman kind of, she's great, obviously, and she gets the whole movie. She gets the whole 4 hours to, be the badass, and she owns that for sure. And but I really like Lucy Liu's backstory. You know, I think that anime segment is very interesting because I don't love anime style, but I think it was a good combination of that and how Tarantino would envision anime, and I kind of liked how the art style of that segment. I also didn't know it existed, so it was a little bit of a surprise, but it worked for me.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, and I think what impressed me especially about the first film is how I don't think. Honestly, these movies, well, especially the first one, doesn't feel like it has too many locations.
Yeah.
It only has like 5, I think. Like it has the club bar setting. It has the Haruto Hanzo's like place. Vivica A. Fox's character, her house, the wedding chapel, and then the hospital.
Yeah.
And that doesn't feel a lot for a movie that's almost 2 hours, but then the action and dialogue within that obviously makes it, feel like a complete movie, and obviously having this movie in 2 parts could have made it a little bit worse, but I think both parts really work as independent films as well.
Yeah.
Obviously the second one, you kind of need to have seen the first one. But even I think you could watch the second one without having seen the first one and still have a good time at the very least.
Yeah, no, I think the second one is very good. Like you were saying, like the first one's kind of like a simple, straightforward revenge type of film, right? And this one kind of more explores the theme of revenge. And I think
exactly.
I think some of the best scenes of the movie are when the second one are not when like they're having an action sequence, but I think that whole talk between Beatrix and fucking Bill. Jesus Christ! Why did I not remember his name there for a second? I think the whole talk between Beatrix and Bill is probably the better scene.
Yeah.
To be honest, it's such an introspective talk, and then it ends violently with her doing that fucking heart exploding maneuver. So
exactly.
Yeah.
Obviously, this is very much a very stylized film, very much an ode to films from the 70s and other films like that. Films like even westerns. Tarantino has always said that I feel this is like the most inspired Tarantino movie because it feels like he's sort of stealing some of the coolest shots from other movies that he really loves.
Yeah, I did notice
mixing them together. But obviously, I can respect that. And he does a good job with them. The music also kind of incorporates that. But also, it clearly, especially in the second part, feels like Tarantino had said this film was very personal to him. And I think it might be one of the most personal films he's ever made. Because, especially with stuff like Django Unchained and, Inglourious Basterds and even Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, he really has no idea what it would have been like to be those kind of people. But here, it's
watching those kung fu type of movies, right? So, I mean...
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Those were his favorite. I mean, he also was a video store clerk, so it's like he had access to all this stuff, and that's why he has so many homages to other films, right? He's just kind of doing what he knows, basically.
Yeah. And what I love about part 1 is despite the smaller amount of locations, and in fact it feels a bit smaller, Tarantino's filmmaking I think is at his very best there, and it utilizes the location very well, the outdoor the geography, especially of the club, is very well thought out and makes a lot of sense. It's not confusing at all, and that makes the action a lot simpler, and that setting worked very well for it. Yeah, and obviously...
What do you think of the soundtrack of the film? Like the songs they selected? I thought those were pretty solid.
I think it's pretty good. Yeah. I don't know, it might be one of my favorites, because he really does use a lot. I think he even uses more not score music in this film than he does in things like Pulp Fiction or Reservoir Dogs. Yeah. And he doesn't. I don't think some of those songs are nearly as iconic, but I think they very much work for the experience of the film.
Yeah, I mean, I think the one iconic song, obviously, we know is that main theme done by RZA, right? From the other guy from the Wu-Tang Clan, right? He's the one who compiled most of the songs.
Right. Yeah. Which one?
Yeah. No, that the main theme is dun dun dun. That one where she's pulling up on the bike in the first one.
Oh, I think wasn't the one that. Wait, isn't? I'm pretty sure that theme is used for when Lucy Liu and her
Yeah, no, it's like a continuation of that scene,
Yeah. Yeah. Again, it feels like very much a fan kind of a film, but it's the best fan film of all time, especially with the references, homages, and stuff I've already talked about.
Yeah.
But then also with the music that feels like it's kind of making fun of itself with that, the dun 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 stuff and that thing.
It's just cool. It's cool enough, but also it makes it seem just silly enough to realize that it doesn't take itself too seriously, which is all right. I don't mind that.
Again, lots of iconic stuff. The outfit obviously is very iconic. You know,
Pussy
it's
wagon.
Cool. It's
Don't
supposed
forget
to
about that.
not. I mean, I don't really wanted to remember that much, and I didn't remember
I
it
don't
too
know,
much
man.
until you just said it. I definitely think the bike and her uniform and the shoes. It was supposed to be
Yeah, of course.
a homage to Bruce Lee, and I think that's cool.
Definitely, yeah.
You know,
All right.
Yeah.
Is that it?
no,
You guys
I mean
have anything
that
to
was
say
only
then?
my notes for the first part.
Oh
But
my
even though I
goodness.
said most of the stuff I wanted, like obviously it being
Yeah.
one, most of the stuff I said about the first part applies to the second part.
Yeah.
Yeah. I really love how this was clearly supposed to be one movie though, and I wish I could have seen it
Yeah.
like that. I think
Well, I think there is a version that you can buy,
Yeah.
isn't there?
no, I don't think there's
Yeah.
one that you can buy though. That
Oh, really?
compiles the two. I don't
thought
think
there
you can
was.
buy it though. I think they've
I
only
should check
streamed
this
it
out,
in some
actually.
place. Yeah.
Yes.
I feel like the parts in the second part. I think the pacing's a little more off in the second part, only because at the very beginning, some of the parts of the plot don't feel necessary, at least in the moment. But then obviously it gets really good payoff towards the third act of that film, or just the third act of the whole thing. To be honest, I really liked how Tarantino took this story of like a hit woman essentially who tries to
Yeah.
like quit and then goes hell bent on revenge. It's very simple, but it makes it like once you're starved for information the first part, and then this one kind of gives you all of it, and I think that's quite effective.
Yeah.
And that sort of novel like structure that he does is maybe one of his, because obviously Tarantino likes to put stuff out of order, but I think this is maybe one of his best uses of it being
Yeah.
out of order. Definitely better than his modern films, I think, for sure.
Yeah.
As far as
Also, I wanna quickly say you can actually buy the whole Bloody Affair out there.
You
It's
can?
247 minutes in total, and people on IMDb certainly seem to like it. It got a 8.8 out of 10, so clearly it must be
Yeah,
good
I think
altogether.
people. Yeah, I would have liked to watch it as one. I think that would have been very
Yeah.
cool. Interesting. I'll have to look at that eventually.
Yeah.
I really like the action scene in the trailer, and I think I really like Tarantino was very. I think this was some of his more creative action scenes. While all of his some of his other action scenes are great, they feel very much more like classic, like stuff that's already been done before. While there's obviously still the clear homages, I think the way he solves some of these fights, like having, the bride, Uma Thurman, or take the woman's eyeball out, so that she's completely blind, is very intense and interesting. And I like that.
That was actually really funny to me,
and it can
honestly.
be funny, a little bit funny, interesting,
Yeah.
and intense way to finish off a fight like that, right?
Yeah.
I really like these characters, especially in the second part, become very clear that they're well drawn out. They're all working for themselves, right? Especially, like all these characters are like have their own interpretations of the situation. Like when you think like the woman, I don't remember her name, the woman who pretends to be a nurse in the first part. She's clearly trying to like screw over Michael Madsen's character, but Michael Madsen also has his own stuff. Like his character already had his own stuff going on. He's kind of struggling for money. She's just trying to like I guess also I feel like she's like kind of was kind of jealous of Uma's like character of the bride, being that she was Bill's. She might have been jealous that she was Bill's favorite, and that she seemed like more of a badass than she was, and that she wanted to defeat her with her own with herself, and rather than being defeated by a person she looks down on. Bill, obviously, it kind of makes sense why he did this, being that they were kind of in a relationship. But then obviously, and it also makes sense for the bride, obviously, because, for Uma Thurman's character. What's her name? Sorry, Beatrix. Yeah, Beatrix.
Beatrix Kiddo.
Yeah, that, she figured she couldn't, like, bring a kid into, like, the atmosphere she was in before. But obviously, Bill kind of viewed it as, she just left and then married some random hillbilly and had a child with him, right? Which obviously pissed him off, and then and obviously it makes sense how he just says he kind of overreacted. Obviously, he felt that he needed to like get some sort of revenge. Obviously, he went for a very intense one, but I mean, he's a hitman. What are you gonna expect? And that's why the last scene is also very interesting. I like the master/teacher character. He's a pretty good. He's a little racist, I think, a little bit. He's a little too much of a stereotype of, the wise Asian, kung fu trainer. but I think he balances that well enough with giving him some good comedy and a pretty badass persona. It's like he makes it clear that he's superior to pretty much everybody, and literally the only way he gets defeated is because, you know, the nurse character like poisons him, which is quite a sad and unfortunate end for someone who seemed like such a legend. But it also kind of helps for the ending of the movie overall. Again, Tarantino's very good at screenwriting. I think the second part makes that very much clearer than the first part, because obviously the first part, I think, while it's a good story, it's pretty simple. But all the structure helps to explain everything for the third act, which is very impactful. And I really like you said, Bill's speech and that final confrontation is very interesting. Kind of shocking, like, how was the kid born exactly? Do you know, like, how, like, when that was supposed to happen? Because, like, the timeline of that doesn't make sense to me.
Well, perhaps, like, after she was killed, like, they took the baby out of her or something like that and then buried her. That could have been it. I mean, like, I don't know.
She wasn't buried, remember? She was in the hospital. She was sleeping for 4 years, apparently.
I don't know. Like, I thought there was a scene where she, like, claws her. Maybe I'm thinking of something else,
but that's after she gets revenge. Like, that's after she...
Oh, wait, no, you're right.
She escapes from the hospital, kills the first two.
Okay, well, yeah, then maybe when she was in her coma.
Buried alive. So, while she was in... I don't know enough about childbirth to know if you can give birth to a child while in a coma, but it just feels very difficult for that to happen. But I guess it did. I don't know. That's the only thing I can think of, is that she just had it while she was unconscious that whole time.
Yeah.
Again, obviously the action's still very good in the second part, even though it's not as heavy, even though it is the longer part, but I think that works very well for the character. You know, good, strong female lead who's pretty awesome, and, you know, she gets to be and she wins, you know, which is...
Yep.
And, you know, and that last scene's pretty interesting, and I like this film a lot. I think I like the second part a little bit more, but I like, obviously, them together very much. I don't know. Anything else, last things you want to say?
I mean, I don't know. Actually, no, I think I'm good, man. Like, I love these films. I'm glad you've finally been able to see them. You know, I mean, like, definitely classics of cinema. So, yeah, great experience all around. And, maybe one day we can actually watch the full cuts. Because I think that could make it just a tad bit better. Yeah.
So as far as the score, do you want to score these separately, or do you want to do, like, both and then as one? Because, I mean, mine's the same for both. I think I slightly prefer the second part. I'll just say that. But overall,
I mean, maybe we could just do them together. I don't really care. It's all right.
Together. I mean, I'm interested to see which one you prefer. I'll ask that first before you rate them.
I think I might like the second one a little bit better as well. Okay. I mean, I just think just because of that whole, like, you know, you get to know the characters just a little bit more. Don't get me wrong, I love the one, but you know, I think just that added level of depth just edges it out just a little bit for me. I think I'd probably give the first one, like, you know, I'd probably give the second one an 8.5. So
okay, I definitely feel that most people either view them as equal or view the first one as better, but I feel like we're in the minority by saying we both think the second part's at least slightly better.
Yeah.
Because I don't think there's a big difference. Obviously, it was supposed to be one movie, so it feels a little unfair to try to pit them against each other because they're the same movie in theory. But, overall, I give it a 9 out of 10. I think it's very good, and I enjoyed it a lot, especially that second part. But, again, I think this is some of Tarantino's best filmmaking. Feels like, obviously, while it still has his feet stuff, it feels like him just truly being a fan of cinema and putting everything he loves about movies and comic books and everything into one movie. And you know, I like that a lot. It's pretty good. You know, he's a fan of stuff that I am a fan of for the most part. Not feet. I'm not that into feet. Yeah.
Yeah, I keep forgetting about that, actually. Yeah, but anyways, this has been a good episode, guys. Thank you so much for watching. But before we go...
what was your rating?
Oh, I told you. I told you already.
As a whole?
Are you good?
No, I didn't.
As a whole? Oh, I thought... I just scored them individually, but as a whole, I mean, like, I probably average them out, so let's say 8.25. All right?
Okay.
How about that?
Sure. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, all right. Yeah, great movie.
Yeah.
For sure. yeah, so for next episode, Aiden, I guess you were about to explain that before I cut you off.
Yeah, I was. No, it's okay. That's my fault. I probably should have said them as one because that was my idea after all. But I mean, I think yeah. So for the next one, we're gonna have a guest on of my choosing. I'm still working on getting someone on, but the movie that we have decided we are going to talk about is the recently released Disney film. Obviously, we were talking about it earlier, Cruella, right? So
Yeah,
we've
I mean,
heard, like we said,
yeah, hasn't been released
we've
yet,
heard good things
but
about
it
it.
will be released.
Well, it will be released soon, but good things have been said about it so far. The reviews coming in, they're not too bad, but yeah, we want to see if it's any good. So
yeah, I think
yes,
that'd
and
be
we will
good.
definitely be paying for premiere access, right, Daniel?
100%.
Yeah.
Support Disney. They need the money.
Yes,
the,
support
the,
Disney.
The mouse needs
Yep.
the money, as I always say.
Yeah.
And then the other film that we're going to be doing will not obviously, but it will be the film of Aiden's guest choosing, because we always let the guest pick at least one new movie, if not the one we do. Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to what they pick. It's going to be interesting for sure.
Yep.
Before we wrap up, I guess we might as well throw out any film recommendations we have, because I watched a couple things last night I want to tell you about.
All right, we'll go ahead then.
Yeah, sure. Good Time. I don't know if I mentioned this before, by the Safdie brothers. I don't know if you've seen this yet. It's on Netflix. It's really good. I rewatched it. It works very much on a rewatch. Very unique film, very stylized. Lots of close-ups, like lots of, the camera is always very close to the people. And, I think it's a pretty great film. A very unique film. Not a lot like it. Even though I think it has some similar things to do with Dog Day Afternoon, which is my other recommendation. I don't know if you've seen that yet. It's really good. Starring Al Pacino.
Yes.
I think this is probably his best performance. It's too bad he had to go up against Jack Nicholson for the Oscar that year, so then he had to settle for The Scent of a Woman as his Oscar. Because he's definitely done better performances, and I think this might be his best. It's a really great performance. The screenwriting is very well done. It's one of the craziest films that's a true story. It's kind of crazy. Of course, obviously this had to be made to a movie. I don't know how this could happen in real life. People would whatever. Obviously it was something that had to be told as a movie. And the direction is very good. Sidney Lumet, who was famous for this movie, 12 Angry Men, and Network, did this. I'm going to be watching Network eventually somewhat soon, because I like it a lot. Yeah, I don't know. Aiden, do you have anything you want to mention?
No, dude, honestly, I haven't watched a ton besides our stuff, to be honest. It's,
right.
Yeah.
You did rewatch the Kill Bills, I'm assuming, because I know you had seen them before.
Yeah, I had seen them before, but yeah, that's basically all I watched, to be honest. I mean, I've been more focused on applying for residence and, want to quickly mention to the fans out there, I got into Windsor a while ago, but that was my choice for university, so anyone here watching is at Windsor, hit me up. Especially if you're sexy. No, I'm just joking. I'm not.
Oh my goodness. I need a compilation of all these cringe things you say.
Oh my god, yeah.
But I mean, obviously I say cringe things, but I think, yours are particularly... I feel like yours are more sexual, though. Even though, obviously...
I know, that's just who I am, bro. I'm a weird person,
Yeah. I can confirm that. But yeah. Anyways... Thank you guys so much for watching, as always. Make sure to check us out on our platforms. And this has been Dead Film Critics Society. See you guys next time. See you guys.